All right, we are live on Facebook, Leah.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
But my sound. Oops. Uh-oh.
There we
My
go.
my sound. For some reason, I can't get my sound to go. Now my screen is going in and out. Of course. Is it Mercury retrograde? Perhaps.
I don't know. I thought we were done with that, but maybe not.
But no, I can't. For some reason, let me go like that. There we go. There we go.
Very good. And I'm just getting it pulled up on my phone. So if we have any comments,
Okay. And you can hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. You can hear me?
Yes. And you can see me okay?
I can see you. I can hear you. We are ready.
Oh, Darlene's here. Hi, Darlene.
Good.
Always good to see Darlene.
Yes. Hi, Darlene. Darlene joined us this morning on Clubhouse as well. So
Did she share that she's working with snakes right now? She got a job helping a snake guy who I think he raises snakes. I don't know. But yeah, so that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. Congratulations, Darlene.
She had to use Reiki on her. I don't know if it was her first or second day, and she'll have to share with us why. But that's actually, maybe she will share a little bit. Hi, Darlene, on chat, because she showed how Reiki really helped her on her first or second day with an incident that happened. So that was really nice. It's nice to have those tools.
It is nice to have those tools. Yes, Darlene, you'll have to put it in the chat if you can, and we'll share that with everyone.
Definitely.
Yes. So today, our topic is the difference between animal Reiki and animal. And that's what we were talking about this morning. But we wanted to continue that because it really does there's a lot of confusion around that. Why, using Reiki, as we've learned for humans on people, isn't always successful with animals, right? And so, but most of us, when we take a Reiki class, I know Kelly and I both said this, and if you hear squeaking in the background, they found the toy. Of course, Mom's live. Let's find the squeaky toy. But when you take like any class that's, really Western Reiki for humans, what I have found, I've taken many different classes from different teachers, and every one of them at the end would say, oh, and Reiki works really well for animals. They love it, but they're very sensitive, so they only need like 5 or 10 minutes. And so I came out of that trying to use what I learned for humans on animals. And it wasn't always successful. And sometimes it was like they let me know in no uncertain terms that they weren't interested in it. There was the rare occasion when, they would tolerate it or be okay with it. But more often than not, it really wasn't something they were comfortable with.
And that's where that whole "my animals don't like Reiki" comes from.
Yes, because they've tried the human approach, and the animal ran, or they hid, or they obviously, cowered, all those signs that we need to look for that they're not enjoying this. And that's what they demonstrated.
Right. Yeah. I remember there was an article that came out. I don't know if it was Dogs Naturally magazine, but it talked about how the Reiki was either too strong or it wasn't good for animals because this cat threw up or the dog threw up. One of these animals threw up. And it's like, well, of course they threw up because they were stressed. They were being forced to do something they didn't want to be doing. And that's really bad.
Right. Absolutely. So Darlene shared her snake story.
Oh, okay. Let's share that.
Yeah. So it was her second day on the job, and she was bitten by a juvenile Sanzania boa. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Otherwise known as a Madagascar tree boa.
Ooh, that sounds big.
It does sound good. Madagascar tree boa. It just sounds very exotic and like it's in control. But she used Reiki to hold the calm space for the snake and herself. Worked well to dissolve any fear on my end, which I can see where there would be some after you got bit, and the snake was less reactive too.
Yes. And like here, you wouldn't think a snake, right? Because traditionally people aren't practicing with animals like a snake, right, or even like a tiger, like a care. They're practicing with their dogs or cats that are much more open to it, especially if they're domesticated and their own. But here's a snake that Darlene had just met. And even though she had an incident where she got bit, she was able to calm the snake just through her breath and through the calmness. Right. So we should talk about that, why the breath is so calming and what that does. I don't know if you want to start on that.
Well, our breath is just our life force, and it's amazing. There is a reaction in the body that occurs too with our breath. Our cells are receiving the oxygen, our heart rate goes down, our stress hormones go down, everything lowers as we do this deep, purposeful breathing. And so our whole body reacts to that physically. It's just the heart rate, the pulse, all of it. We begin to calm down. Our mind begins to calm down. We don't have that monkey mind going all the time. And it's the breath, just focusing on the breath as we slowly breathe in, just really being present with our breath, because that is our life force. Without our breath, we're not alive.
Well, and what's interesting too is this is scientifically proven, where our mind goes, or where our focus goes, our mind follows. So if you're really stressed out and you're having a bad day, or you're like up here, just all this worry, all this, when you can stop and then focus on your breath, now your body is focusing on this life force. It's no longer focusing on what's wrong. And so now you're shifting your whole energy. Now you're letting go of that stress and you're focusing on peace. And that's really powerful too. And, that's why the prana breathing for people who do yoga, that's another way to tap into that deep center of yourself and start to calm your body through breath.
Absolutely. And it is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people aren't aware of just how powerful our breath can be when we focus on that, because we're putting our focus on it.
Right. And we're slowing it down. When your breath slows, your mind slows. It's just, they're connected. So if you can slow your breath when you're really stressed out or you're anxious and you're like, you can just bring yourself back down. And that's, I would say that you can imagine animals, we're trying to be all peaceful and calm. We come up, oh, hi, how are you? But inside, we're like the Tasmanian devil. We're going like this. And this is our energy. And I bet you money, if we could scientifically prove it, that is what animals see. That's why even though our words are saying everything's fine, our insides aren't. And that's why they're like, no, because we haven't checked in with our insides. So when we calm that breath, now our insides match our outside. Now, when we breathe, now we can come to the animal and be like, all is well, everything's fine. And now the animal will believe us because, we're constantly, but we're used to BSing each other. We're used to going, oh no, everything's fine, because humans aren't as in tune to what's happening. We aren't as sensitive to each other and our energy. It has to be really strong energy for us to go, whoa, that person's in a really bad mood, or, oh, that person is not, not a kind person. You can get that energy where they're just, we've all had that experience and you're like, ugh. So it's really important for us when we're working with animals to have our insides match our outside. And the easiest way to do that is through breath.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. It's really hard to BS the animals.
Right.
People, we do that to each other all the time. How are you? Fine. And you're probably not fine, and then we just go on because we're busy, we're wrapped up in our stuff, and we're not really paying attention. Like when someone tells us they're fine, we're not picking up on energy and really seeing them because we're so wrapped up in our stuff.
Well, we don't want to see it, right? We don't want to in some ways. It's like, oh, good, they said they're fine. Now I don't have to deal with it. Now I don't have to address it.
Appropriate thing. And now I can go about and take care of the stuff I got to take care of.
Right. And so if we're going to be working with animals, though, that's why it's so important to get ourselves in check. It's so important for us to make sure that we are what we're saying. So if we're saying all is well, then we have to feel that inside that all is well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of the things that came up this morning, Kelly mentioned, when we were talking about Reiki and meditation and some of the differences, and she said that she saw Reiki as something she did for her. So if she's sitting with an animal meditating, the Reiki is for her. So she can quiet her mind. So she can learn to control her focus. And the meditation is holding that space and allowing the animal to step in, allowing the animal to choose.
Because when we do that, when we go inward, our energy goes outward, right? So it's like in with the good and the good goes out. And the good, it's like if there was sunshine coming through your body, if sunshine could go into your body and then it seeps out, right? That is what the animals are connecting to. So with Reiki, it's like we're bringing in sunshine into our bodies, this beautiful, healing, lovely energy, right? And then it ignites our beautiful light. So then we become like the sun, and this beautiful energy seeps out. That is what the animals are attracted to, not us going, I'm trying to heal you. I'm going to do this. In fact, that's where they go, ew, don't. Because we're saying you're defective, right?
Yeah.
You need fixing.
And that we can fix you. And, even with people, I mean, it's pretty egotistical of us to think that, oh, an animal or a person, you're sick, I can heal you. I can fix you.
Yeah. And then what did COVID prove? Probably not so much.
Exactly.
People can't be healed from COVID with Reiki. But what Reiki does is it creates a beautiful healing space where you can rest and you can heal on your own. But that's the really interesting part about hands-on Reiki for humans, where your mind goes, right? That's where your focus goes. That's where your mind goes. So our mind controls a lot of our health. So with hands-on Reiki, if I'm getting hands-on Reiki treatment and someone is putting their hands on my shoulder, my mind goes, oh, that feels good on my shoulder. Now my shoulder feels good. Or if I have a hurt knee and they put their hands on my knee, now I'm like, my focus is on my knee. My mind is on my knee. And I'm like, oh, this beautiful healing energy that I'm feeling. Because, you feel that energy, that's healing me, right? But with animals, it's like why the placebo effect doesn't work. They're not BSing themselves into, oh, it feels good to be touched. It feels good to be loved, but they're not thinking, oh, this stomach ache I have is now healed because my mom put her hands on my shoulder.
Right.
It's more for us.
Yeah, exactly. And when we focus on the problem, then it's a different energy, and the animals a lot of times just go, oh, I don't like that. I don't like this energy you're putting out right now. So I'm going to leave and I'll come back later, or maybe I won't come back later. You come back later.
Yeah. Or like with horses, if your mind starts to wander when you're with them, they immediately, oh, I guess our session's over. Right. Because with animals, they're attracted to that connection and that deep meditative space where we're focused on the breath and being together. But as soon as our mind goes elsewhere, they don't know that in their world, oh, the session's over. Now, the good thing about horses is as soon as you go back into that space, they'll come trotting back over because they like to connect. Tigers, not so much, like abused tigers. Right. The tigers that care, that haven't been abused, have been there since they were babies. They love it. They'll soak it up no matter if your mind wanders, wonders or not, they just like being with you and supporting you, right? They
Yeah.
know their teachers there. So it's a different situation. But before that, with the tigers that had been abused, and I know that tigers at Keepers of the Wild too, that the lions too, they're much more reserved. They're much more, you can't. And in fact, there is and I think I've shared this before about the baboon Billy, who he came from a situation. It was a hoarder situation, or not a hoarder situation. Sorry, not a hoarder situation. It was a situation where he was giving it to a little girl as a gift. So then he grew up and he got angry and too much. And the little girl was only 12 years old. So it was a ridiculous gift by a very rich parent to his daughter. So Billy goes to live with Keepers of the Wild, but they had to keep him in a section where the public, because Keeper of the Wild, they do like almost like a safari jeep, and they take you around to all the animals. Yep. And so what they did was they put Billy kind of off by where the staff and volunteers work, like their office. So when he would see strangers, he liked the staff and volunteers. They were okay, but strangers, he would scream and throw rocks at them. And so when Kelly and I went, before we go, we always meditate. And then as we're getting the tour, we're just, thank you. We're showing gratitude and an appreciation for the animals accepting us at their place, right? And so we did a little bit of Reiki before we did the tour. It was way across the property, and the property's huge. It's like, at least a mile or so wide. And so we were way on the other side of the property, and we did Reiki with a tiger. And then we came back, and we were getting the tour, and the managers said, well, you stay over here by the Jeep, because when you get out, Billy's going to scream and he's going to throw rocks. It's just what he does. So they got out and we got out, and then they kind of walked over to Billy, and Billy didn't do anything. He kind of screamed a little, but nothing. And they go, wow, that's really weird. So then the next day when we were doing class and Billy got Reiki just around him, not to him, we walked up to Billy, and he was just completely peaceful. And I was down, I was filming him flossing his teeth with a piece of hair from one of the staff. And he was just completely peaceful. And then when we were walking away, April, the staff said, I'm so shocked he didn't throw rocks at you. And then he kind of went, oh, he heard her, and he kind of picked up some rocks and went, and threw it half-heartedly and didn't scream or anything. So we were cracking up. But, Billy wouldn't have been one that you could touch or get near. And it was only because we weren't doing Reiki to Billy, but we had that energy around us of just, we're meditating and we are like the sun. And so wherever we go, the sun is just shining, and the animals can choose whether or not they want to connect. And it's just a connection. It's not a, hey, I'm going to heal you, or hey, we're going to be here together and we're going to do this session. It's more just, I'm going to stand here and breathe and meditate, and my energy is going to go out. And now the animals can choose whether or not they want to calm down. And like, there were coyotes that paced all the time, and they started to slow down. And the first day, one of them laid down. There was like 5 of them. And, most of them were just, and then on the second day, they were all calm, and they weren't pacing anymore. And they were coming up to the fence to look at us. And so it's really powerful, the gift you can give to these animals just by meditating, going inward. You don't have to be doing, but that's a human thing, right? We want to do.
Yes, we want to do. And those of us who have been trained in, Western human Reiki, for lack of anything else to call it, we get the idea that Reiki is a person comes in, they lay on a table, they're still, the room might be dim, you might have some candles, some nice soft music, and the practitioner is the one who is actually doing something. And you place your hands in certain positions and you move around the person while the person stays still. And it's totally opposite of the best approach, I believe the best approach for animals.
Yeah, we even have a graphic in the Shelter Animal Reiki Association that we share. And I think the graphic is in Kathleen's level one manual and you know, the level one manual that you teach as well, Jamie. You get the graphic of this is what a human treatment looks like, where the client lays still and the practitioner moves. And then an animal Reiki treatment, the practitioner sits still and the animal moves. So completely different.
Yes. And animals will do that. You know, we go in and we begin our meditation and just create this space and hold it. And it's totally up to the animal. They may step into it. They may fall asleep. They may wake up. They may go get a drink. They may eat. They may move to another location. All of that is perfectly normal reactions to it on how animals accept that space, that meditative space.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think the meditation also keeps us in the present moment, which is where animals live. Because very seldom are humans, myself included, in the present moment. You know, we're in the past, thinking about something that happened. We're worried about something that might happen in the future. But to be right here, right now, in this moment. And that's where animals are. Mm-hmm. They definitely are. You know, mine right now, they decided this is the perfect time to have a big wrestling match and grab some toys. And so, but
they feel how relaxed you are.
I know. And they're in the present moment. They're like, oh yeah, this will be fun.
That's so cute. But Sophie's in your lap though.
Yes, we got her.
Sophie's doing her thing.
Yes, she likes to do this, and it's best she's up here right now while everybody's getting wild. So,
so what else did you talk about this morning?
You know, Kelly shared a little bit about her experience before she even had experienced or discovered the Let Animals Lead method.
Oh,
she was working with cancer patients in I don't know if it was a hospice or, you know.
Yeah, it was. I think it was hospice. Yeah.
And she said that there's always a lot of equipment hooked up to them. And it was really difficult to move around them with the hand position.
Right.
So she just sat down at the foot of the bed and began to meditate. And she kind of discovered it on her own.
Oh, wow.
That people would respond to that who were in the hospice situation.
Wow. That's really powerful. And that just, again, shows us that that's why this practice is so powerful and important. You don't have to use hands-on. You don't have to, what am I trying to say? I'm distracted by the crows. All the crows are out there. There's like 1,000 of them. No, you don't have to use hands-on. The person doesn't have to feel you. You don't have to direct. You can just hold space, yes. Right? You're just holding space. And I think that we don't put enough importance on just holding space. And I always think about kitties or dogs, or, you know, when they support each other, or elephants, even when another elephant is sick, or like with cats, when another animal is sick, and they hold space, they go and they surround that sick animal. They don't try with their little kitty paws to make everything better and start worrying. They just lay next to them and hold space. And even our animals do that, right? They'll come and lay next to us when we're stressed. They come and they give us that support. And I think that if we can get out of our ego, we can learn a lot from that.
Absolutely, you know, and I can remember when Tulip was making her transition, I had at-home euthanasia, and she was on her bed, and I had 3 other dogs. They all came up and laid down around her, you know, and in the past, what I had found with them is when an animal passed away, they would grieve. And if I didn't do it at home, right? That they disappeared, they never came back, and they would grieve, they'd act up, Bella would get mad. And so this time when Tulip was losing her battle with cancer, then I had it done at home, and it was such a different experience. The animals just came. they came up, they laid down beside her, they held space for her. I remember when the final injection was put in, the bird, I had a little bird, Finnegan, and he started singing, and it was beautiful. It was just a beautiful experience. And afterwards, the animals, they didn't go through that grieving process like they usually had done in the past. They understood, they accepted it. It's like, okay, we know what's going on.
It's being a witness to it, right? And which is such a gift for us to be a witness to our animals passing. And we need to take on that animal kind of idea of holding space and being a witness to a beautiful passing, because we're scared of death, but they aren't scared of death. Right. We're scared of where we're going, but they're not. It's just another chapter. And you hear that so often about how, the animal is completely at peace, the animals around the animal are completely at peace. So that says something. We're the only ones that are falling apart. We're the only ones that can't keep it together, and we're crying and we're hysterical, and it's all about us, right? It's no longer about the animal. Now it's all about us. And I've done this, I've done this so many times. It's embarrassing. And now I know better. Now, thankfully through my practice and through seeing this so many times, you learn that the biggest gift we can give to our animals is just to hold space like other animals would for them. And to say, thank you. And I love you. And don't worry about me, because a lot of times we've seen it, Jamie. What do the animals do? They hang on. They're like struggling. I did that to one of my dogs. I am just so embarrassed to say, my poor dog just hung on for me because I couldn't handle it. And finally, the poor little guy, he couldn't, his body just was shutting down. He couldn't hang on anymore. And it was just for me. And it didn't make me feel good. That's not what we want. No. We want our animals to pass in peace.
Yes. And when they can be, when their owners, pet parents, when the person can sit with them and hold space, and the other animals come and they hold space. What a beautiful gift. I hope that I have that at my time, because, I know we don't like to think that, but none of us are getting out of here alive, and we are all going to have that moment where it's time for us to make the transition and find out what the big secret is afterwards. We can think we know, but we don't really.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty good secret too.
It's a pretty good secret.
I think it's a pretty good one. I know I used to be really afraid to die, although I'm older now. I'm 57. So of course, that has a lot to do with it. But I think that being around animals makes you less afraid to pass and makes you feel better about it, because there is no fear, and they know so much more than we do. They're so much more deeply connected to, this energetic web. They just understand there's got to be something better that we don't understand. Yes. And when we die, we can't come back and go, oh, hey, actually, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you should try this. Don't worry.
Right.
No, can't tell us. So we just have to wait till it's our time.
which we hope isn't any time soon.
We still have lots to do.
But speaking of that too, I remember one good thing about Reiki that I want to share that really helps the pet parents, the human companions to the animals, is that when we can do Reiki for ourselves, like Kelly was saying, right? So I had a friend, and she had a cat, Minu. Minu was 21 years old, and Lindsay had her since she was 10 years old. So Lindsay was 31 and Minu was 21. And there was another cat, Buddy, who was 19 years old. So they had all been together, Buddy for 19 years with them because he came as a kitten, and then Minu for 21 years. And so Lindsay, you can imagine as a 10-year-old, how devastating it is to learn that your cat is going to be passing. And I was doing Reiki with them, and I'd go to the house, and she and her partner and the other two cats, Buddy, and then another cat, Flint, and then Minu, would all get Reiki. And so by the time Minu passed, like 3 or 4 weeks later, It was a much better situation. She actually ended up passing at home, and Buddy, I get emotional thinking about this. Buddy came and he wrapped his body around Minu, and laid there for like an hour after she had passed, just saying goodbye. And, there was no sense of stress or trauma or anything. And that says so much when we see that, when we see an animal passing and there is no anxiety or stress happening, but from the other animals. So you have to know that this is this is just a part of life, right? It's another part of life. It's a transition.
Yes. And animals are so good at accepting and allowing.
Yeah.
And that's something we can definitely learn from them, because most humans are not good at allowing or accepting. We're supposed to be in control. I mean, we get that message all the time. If your life isn't where it should be, well, then it's like, well, it's your fault. You should have been doing this. You should have been doing that. We should be we're doing beings instead of just beings,
Absolutely. We can learn so much from animals if we just allow ourselves to let go of that ego, to let go and get into that. And that's where I think the meditative space helps, right? You become more compassionate, more connected.
And to lose that idea that we are superior.
And that's ego.
That's ego, definitely ego.
Because we're so not superior. Emotionally, we're not superior. Emotionally, they're up here and we're down here. And we're trying to get where they are.
Yes.
I remember recently someone said to me, I said that animals were more intelligent than us. And she said, well, that doesn't make any sense. They can't do math and calculate and all this. And I'm like, emotionally more intelligent. And at the end of the day, when you strip away, I remember when 9/11 happened and there's attorneys and doctors and lawyers alongside just people who are waitresses and waiters and busboys and just homeless people. Everybody down at ground zero is all of a sudden the same. Now everybody is in that survival mode. Nobody cares if you drive a Mercedes or if you drive a car that's 30 years old. All they care about is, oh my God, you're okay. I'm okay. How can we help other people? And that's what I always remember. And I always go back to that because at the end of the day, that's all we have is who we are inside. What we have on the outside doesn't matter at all. It only matters on the inside, who you are, how you live, how you interact with, your fellow beings. And that's what animals show us.
Mm-hmm. They do, because they don't care. They don't care, I mean, they might care if they're a prey animal and the other one's a predator. But other than that, they're not looking at, oh, look at that dog over there. It's a mix, and I'm a purebred, or the color of that dog. I mean, when you think of it, put it in terms like that, what we do, it seems pretty foolish. How we judge people on their, color and their religion and different things like that. Animals don't do that.
No.
They seem ridiculous.
No, they don't. And, and that you're saying that about, they don't care about even prey and predator. Well, we've all seen that. I think most of us have seen that video where the lion and the lioness see a little baby like gazelle or something, and they're kind to it. Or there was the tiger in the zoo, and they brought the piglets to her with little tiger stripes, and she nursed them. And they probably didn't even need to do the tiger stripes. I'm sure she knew they weren't tigers. How funny that they thought, oh, we'll just put little stripes on it. It's like they teach us. It's really apparent if we stop and look.
Yes.
Our energy affects everything. And animals show us how your energy can be used for good instead of evil. You know what I mean? It's like, yes. They show us how you can learn to coexist with everyone.
Absolutely. I can remember when I lived in the Black Hills of South Dakota, one time I was just out driving around in the hills and I saw this like hand sign that said, what was it? Something about tigers or lions and that kind of thing. So I thought, well, I have to go check this out. And there was an arrow. And this guy had this land and he had built enclosures. He had these big cats and they had caves they could go into. They were all very calm. And each one of them had a dog in there. So, and he was talking to me about all these animals. And he said, yeah, I put the dogs in with them to keep them company, and they're best friends, and they never do anything to the dogs, because you think, well, okay, this cat's going to eat this animal, but it didn't. He said, the only one I have trouble with is the bobcat, the smallest one, because he's got an attitude.
How funny. And so the dogs, do they live in the cages with the tigers?
They lived in the cages.
I wonder how he found out that was okay. I guess
I have no idea. I was just like flabbergasted. I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow. I mean, because that's a risk, right? You've got to, I'm going to throw my dog in with the tiger. Now, obviously, if the tiger's well fed at the time, they say that. That's like, you can see the lion on the Serengeti with the gazelles and the giraffes, and everybody's coexisting because the lion's not hungry.
Right.
So Kelly just joined us.
Oh, did she?
Hello, Kelly. Yes.
Kelly.
We were just talking about you, so your ears must have been burning. You had to jump on because she felt us.
I gotta see what these two crazy ladies are saying.
I know. You should jump on, Kelly. We were just talking about your experience with hospice.
Yes, you can jump on the Zoom.
Yeah, you can, if you'd like to join us.
If you would like to.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, it's very interesting how animals show us you can coexist. You can be a predator and coexist with a prey animal. You see it a lot with horses too. You know, dogs are predators and horses are prey. Right. And they still can coexist. I don't know about wolves. That would be interesting to see if there's any situations where wolves coexist with the horses and things. But, a lot of it's just hunger, right? There's the need to survive trumps everything.
Right.
It trumps everything, and that's also something that we have to learn too. It's that animals show us that you've got to think about yourself and care about yourself first in order to be of use to everyone else, including your family, including, whoever else.
Right. And I mean, they really do show that.
Kelly just said, how do I hop on? And I think you have the calendar.
Yeah. It's the same link that you had last week. If you still have that, then you just go on to Zoom and enter that link and it'll tell me somebody that you are waiting to come on, and we will bring you on.
Yes, we will. So, yeah. So, it's what we can learn from animals if we stop and just observe and go, okay, they teach us how to coexist peacefully with each other.
And as long as their ecosystem is in balance. So one time I was at a desert tortoise organization meeting and they brought in one of the biologists, because in Las Vegas, the wild desert tortoises are threatened. Loss of habitat.
Oh, yeah.
The drought, all of that. But they have an overpopulation for what people have brought into their yards. But we release those ones back out into the wild. So anyway, he was talking about it, and he said what he had seen in the past, like the tortoise will dig a burrow, and other animals use that burrow. And he said, I knew there was one, and there was foxes near it, and ravens, or all those animals are predators to the tortoise because they can get them. And the raven can break through their shell.
Yep.
But they just coexisted until one time he went out there when the drought started getting really bad.
Oh.
They don't have plant life. They don't. And so that means the rabbits and the other animals that they usually eat, and prey on are gone. And that's when the tortoise was attacked. But until then, it wasn't, because the system was in balance. The ecosystem was in balance. And now that it's getting out of balance, they are being forced to, survive.
And that's what's so scary too, is like with climate change and just the encroachment upon their natural habitats, how we are disrupting that natural balance. And it's scary. It's being disrupted for us as well. It's being disrupted for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They're more in tune to it probably than a lot of people, because we just go about our business and don't look over here. Kind of just what we do sometimes.
Well, then I think energetically they're in tune to it. Like when the tsunami was hitting, years ago, and they were going up to higher ground. Now, obviously the elephants that were tied couldn't go, but then there were elephants helping the elephants that were tied get released from their chains when that happened. I mean, animals are just so amazing. But intuitively they knew to go to higher ground way before us.
So they picked up on that.
I can send it to her, Jamie.
Okay, yeah, if you'll send her the link.
Yeah.
Leah will send you the link, Kelly, so you can hop on, because we'd love to have you share that experience that you talked about this morning.
Yeah, because, it's really interesting to think that we could use this same method, because a lot of people think, okay, with humans, you have to use hands-on.
And it turns out you don't.
Right.
Because we're all animals. If we think, if we remember that we are part of the animal family. So why wouldn't it work for us? Just having someone, one of the nicest things you can do, and we all have friends like this. You can't do this with everybody because we feel uncomfortable. I get it. When something really horrible happens, whether it's to you, or to your friend, and you just go, and there are no words that are going to make this better. Like whether it's the death of someone, or, there's nothing you can say to make it better, but you just go and you sit with them, because that's all you can do.
Right.
There, you're holding space. And I know I've done that for people I care about, where there's absolutely nothing I could do for them. And I just went and I sat there and I was with them. And, it makes a huge difference. It made me feel better. It made them feel better.
Right.
Same when someone does that for me, just hold that space when there's nothing else can be said.
Because you don't want somebody to fix it. You know what I mean? When you're going through something really traumatic, you're really ill, your friend isn't a doctor, so you don't expect your friend to heal you. And you don't want your friend going, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay? Oh, I hate that so much when people go, are you okay? It's like, no, I'm not okay. Of course I'm not okay. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm not okay. Like when I had COVID, are you okay? No, I am not okay. But what was really helpful is the people who just held space and just said, I'm sorry this is happening and I love you. And then they would try, talk to me about different things, right? So you can laugh and like step away from that. And get out of it. So, hey, Kelly.
Hey, ladies. Sorry for all that. I really wanted to be on here on time, but my husband's old school and needed me to set him up for a meeting he had to be in. He was using my laptop on Zoom. So I was like,
no worries.
It's going to be over
now. And that's all that's important.
Happy to be here.
Right.
As always. It's good conversation.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
I was telling everyone earlier, I don't know if you heard it, about how you were telling us when you were working with hospice patients, and you discovered, since you couldn't move around with the hand positions and walk around them, that you just sat at the end of the bed and meditated and held the space for them.
Yeah, that was really kind of the first time I noticed, well, wow, this really is a perfect solution, something I learned with working with animals, that I could bring to people. And, because we get so caught up in when we're working with people, whole idea of hand positions, because it does feel good, right? It feels really good when you've got somebody working with you and they've got their hand on you and you relax. It's nurturing. But you know, when you're in a situation in a hospital or in a hospice home, then you know, oftentimes you can't get that close to the patient, or you can't, you know, there's too much equipment in the way around the upper part of the body. And so it was just, you know, I just thought, well, I'll just do what I always do with the animals, is just meditate with them, sit at the end of the bed or sit next to them. I had one woman who was in hospice that I would just sit next to her in a chair. She had dementia and she didn't know, she wasn't verbal. And I would just sit there and I would just start doing my, you know, my breathing and feeling that healing space. And I could just feel the connection that we had. It was heart opening, and there's a in the zone kind of place that you can go. And I was just simply reading to her, you know, but that energy flows. And I think, you know, in those instances, sometimes, you know, the people are, you know, like animals in that sense, where they, you know, animals do, where they just are taking that energy, you know, whether we're, you know, we're just holding it, right? We're just holding it for them, but they're just drawing it from us.
Yeah, I know. I remember in the shelter too, like when I would do Reiki with an animal and the animal would relax, right? You share space. But then when someone would come in to talk to me and we would be talking really quiet, then the animal would just, like the dog or cat, would just go deep in it, because the energy is still there, but now you're completely not focusing on them.
Right.
Let that focus go, but the energy is still really powerful and you're talking calmly. And so you're still in that space and you're still creating that. And then the animal would show, you know, just that's what they were looking for, not for us to be sitting there. I'm holding space. I'm watching you. Are they relaxing? What are they doing? So that was really interesting.
We were talking about that this morning, or well, maybe it was the afternoon, but talking about that, you know, how fun it is to do those practices during class with students working on each other, like doing chair Reiki or the 3 diamonds meditation with a partner, because they're focused on each other and they're not focused on the animals. So to have them like next to the fence where all the sheep are, or the alpacas or whatever, and they're so focused on each other, the animals are gathering around and they're not really seeing that because they're busy doing what they're doing, and the animals feel safe that they can, you know, just come up and it's not all laser focus on them.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great way for us to let go too. It's just like if you're doing, like if 2 of you are working, you know, on setting space, holding space for some animals, and then you just like at the end of your session, just quietly speak to each other and just let that energy kind of settle and let the animals really, because now your focus is completely off of them and it's on each other instead. And that's really powerful.
A lot can happen there in that space.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about when, you know, I was saying how it felt like that this woman was drawing energy from me. And like early on when I was going to Rutland County Humane Society, it was in the winter, it was in February, it was really cold, and they had a dryer problem. They had a gas dryer, and I guess there was a gas leak. And so they had to call the fire department. And I was just about to pull into their parking area, but there were all these like fire trucks, and they were running out with animals and carriers and everything and getting them all in cars because they had to evacuate. And so I pulled into the parking lot of the next door building, and then, you know, I waited a little bit, 10 minutes later or so, you know, everything was said, they said it was okay. They turned everything off. And so they were starting to bring all the animals back in. So I was just sitting in my car, like, you know, doing Reiki. And so when I went to walk in the building, you know, it was like somebody was reaching out and just grabbing the energy in my heart center, just like pulling it. I could really feel this draw of energy. It was, I mean, I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that.
What do you attribute that to?
I think just the animals were just so disturbed by the whole thing, because they, you know, they were like putting carriers in their cars, and, you know, they had to find, it was so cold out, they couldn't figure out where to put everybody. And so everybody was, you know, disrupted, and, you know, they're already stressed to begin with. And I'd been doing Reiki there. So it just felt like, they were just like, oh, here comes the lady with the Reiki. We're just gonna, the staff was stressed. So, I just went in and did my thing. But I'll never forget that feeling of just having it drawn from me.
Right. God.
Because, sometimes we're like somewhere where somebody, an animal or a person is in need, and you suddenly feel yourself like heating up and Reiki flowing, and you might be like kind of looking around at the grocery store, like who could possibly be the one
who needs this
connecting to me on some level? It's probably the woman with the screaming kid who wants more candy or whatever.
Her body's like, oh, come to me. I remember that from when we went to Best Friends, and it was Kathleen and me and Kathleen's sister. And we took one of the dogs for an overnight. It was China, this big pit bull mix.
I remember China.
She laid next to me and her body was buzzing the whole night. My body was buzzing. Kathleen came out of the bedroom in the middle of the night going, I can't sleep. This dog is like, zzz. It was just so much. She was just soaking it up. And it's that same thing that like just pulling it from you, your body, it's like, you're not even thinking about it. You're not doing Reiki yet. You're calm and that just loving, calm energy. And she's just like with a straw. Yeah. Sweet China. She was finally adopted after 7 years.
I remember that was a while. I remember the pictures, and you guys were putting it out there that she needed a home and stuff.
Yeah. That was a hard one. I think one of the workers, the volunteers of the staff, ended up taking her home. So that was nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. Like when we're really aware, I think, we're really in our practice that we can we do recognize that there are things out of our control that people, somehow on some unconscious or subconscious level, in animals and children, recognize that there's this different energy, this beautiful energy that can be tapped into. And I really, I've seen that and experienced it myself a few times. And it's really something to just recognize, like, oh, I'm in that space. Somebody needs that energy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to know who it is, right?
Right. No, because it's a subconscious thing, right? It's happening. They don't know it either. Mm-hmm. It's all subconscious. They're just open to it. Right. So it's just whoever is really open. So yeah, that's a really cool experience.
And then sometimes they tell you, because I had that happen at work. I was in and out of the building because we went out and did inspections. And then there was the support staff who stayed in. And there was a woman, and I had seen her around, but I really didn't know her. She might have worked for another division. I didn't know. And she was coming out of the restroom, and I was going by to go out the door. And she stopped me and she said, I just have to ask you if I can have a hug. She said, you have some energy. I just want to hug you. Well, of course you could have a hug. I want to hug you.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And it was so nice. And that she, had the courage, because how many of us have the courage to ask somebody for a hug that you don't really know? But obviously she felt safe enough around me that she could do that.
Yeah.
What a story. I love those stories.
I know.
Beautiful.
So of course you can have a hug. I want a hug.
Bring it on.
That's right.
That's the first year of COVID. That's what I was telling all my friends. When you see me, you're going to have to peel me off.
I know. That was probably the worst part of COVID, that we didn't get to hug and touch people. And God only knows the deep impact that had on us. Mm-hmm. Especially those of us who are really touchy-feely like me. I like to touch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm a hugger. I think we're all huggers, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yes.
I love it when you meet people and you're excited and they like try to shake your hand. And you're like, no, I'm a hugger. Get in here. Bring it in.
You see them go white.
I know some of them do that. So ladies, it is about 5 minutes. Darlene missed.
Darlene said, yeah, she misses hugging too.
Yes.
So virtual hug, Darlene, virtual hug.
All right. Everybody give Darlene a hug.
Yeah.
You've come in this way.
Right?
Your laptop and just feel the energy.
Yes. So we have 5 minutes left till the top of the hour. And I know we wanted to maybe do a little breathing exercise.
Yeah, why don't you lead us in that?
Okay, we can do that. We can do that. Everybody, we're going to do a breathing exercise. So let's keep wrestling.
Tell all the critters.
I know. It's like, all right, guys, we don't need to wrestle for the next few minutes. Maybe. All right. So what we want everyone to do is to be comfortable, but you want your spine to be straight, not stiff, but straight, but still be in a comfortable position. And we're going to start taking deep breaths in and out. You're going to breathe in through your nose and just visualize that breath going down your body. It could be a bright light or however you want to visualize it, and see it going all the way down to the belly. And then as you exhale out, just see that breath and that light coming back out into the space around you. And that's how we're going to just create a space, a healing space, a space of peace, a space of calm for us, for any animals that might be with you. So go ahead and close your eyes. And, just make sure your shoulders, you can shrug those, release any tension. Feel the tension leave your face, your jaw. Just feel everything loosen up. And begin by taking a deep breath in through your nose and follow that breath in all the way down, 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 down to your belly. And your belly really expands. And now on the exhale, feel all that energy, that breath, that light come back up and go out through your skin, your hands, your breath into the space around you. Take another deep breath in, breathing in the universal light all the way down to the belly. And exhale it back out into the space around you. Take another breath in, breathing in that beautiful light all the way to the belly. And exhale it out into the space around you. Let's do 2 more of those where you breathe in and exhale out. Breathe in and exhale out. And now allow your breath to find a natural rhythm. You don't have to force it. If your mind wanders, go ahead and go back to focusing on your breath. But for now, if your animals are with you, and even if they aren't, bring them to mind and invite them into this beautiful, calming, healing space that you have created. Letting them know whatever they decide is fine. If they join you, if they don't, it's totally their decision. You are just holding this beautiful, calming space for them if they choose to join you. And just hold that space. Focus on your breath. Allow it to flow in and out naturally. Notice the stress has left your body. You're relaxed. You're feeling at peace by now. And you can stay in this space as long as you like with the animals. But for now, let's go ahead and thank the animal for however they participated with us, even if they didn't, thank them. And bring your awareness back to your body. Wiggle your toes. Feel the chair or the couch you're sitting on. And just become aware of your body now. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Jamie. That was
welcome.
So beautiful.
And that is just a quick little breathing exercise anybody can do. You don't have to have Reiki to do that exercise and create that space for the animals and for yourself.
Nika just jumped up. She was like out. She jumped up. She just stretched, looking out the window. Oh, thank you, Jamie. Thank you very much for that.
My guys finally settled down. We've had a wrestling match going on the whole time here tonight. And now they're like, oh, is it dinner?
It's meditation time.
Mine are asleep in front of the wood stove. I won't be seeing them for a while.
Little Nika says, thank you, Aunt Jamie. Thank you, Aunt Kelly. We had a nice time. Oh, she was nice.
Oh, look.
She's
so cute. I love the ears.
I know. She's so sweet.
And her beard. She's so not feminine.
Is Darlene still on?
I think so.
I just want to let Darlene know that Bobby Sue is doing better.
Oh,
so it looks like she's going to make it. We're so excited.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's the little goat at Little Red Barn, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah. It's touch and go, but she seems to be making a turnaround and slowly improving. So we're going to keep the Reiki flowing for her to keep her, her on the right path. And hopefully that's the last of it.
Right. Yes.
Before we go, Kelly, you might know this. Is there a place where we can ask for people Reiki? Because I know that the healing group on Facebook through Animal Reiki Source is more for animals. But I know that like Darlene has a very good friend who has possible tongue cancer. And then we have our good friend, William Melton. And so I didn't know if you knew of anywhere where we can put in requests for healing.
No, there are some groups. I know, like the Massachusetts Reiki community, they just post on that. People post whenever they need Reiki there. They don't have, it's not anything, they have all kinds of different stuff there. So you could do that. I don't know, maybe it's something we should consider is, or I should consider as a human Reiki thingy.
Because we get those requests, and you can put them on the Animal Reiki Healing Source group.
Yeah, people have done that there. They'll put people on there.
Yeah, but I know it's mostly animals. So yeah, I'll have to ask Kathleen, because I think it would be a really good thing to find create a good healing circle where people can feel free to come and share for people who need healing. And then, like a prayer group, but with Reiki.
Yeah, I think, usually you can just kind of Google and find out, but, I don't know who's running stuff, and I don't know, kind of depends on what you're looking for. But, Darlene, you can put your friend on that Animal Reiki Source healing page, because other people have asked for family members or whatever, and it's not frequent, but it's fine. Nobody, gets up in arms about it. Everybody needs Reiki. We're all animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are.
Thank you for that, Kelly. That's good to know, because if you've seen people on the Animal Reiki Healing Circle, then I would suggest that. And I'll go put William on there as well, because I know that's got thousands of members.
Yeah. And it seems silly to separate, Yeah. I mean, it depends. I guess we have to kind of talk about it, because it might get overrun with people requests, and people really are on there because they want to do animals. So,
right.
So it's something we can talk about, but.
Yeah, but for right now, Darlene, feel free to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to do that with William. So thank you so much for that, Kelly.
Yes. All right, ladies. Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you,
I'm glad
Kelly.
I got to hop on with you guys. So
Yes,
so much fun.
thank you so much, Kelly. It's so great having you join us because you have been doing this longer than me, and you have a lot of experience, and especially like with the hospice, that's always so helpful to hear, from someone who's done both human Reiki as a profession and animal Reiki, and yeah, so it's just very helpful. You're very knowledgeable. Wealth of
It's really
information.
amazing how animal Reiki has informed my practice with people and really kind of changed my, my protocol and perspective with that as well.
Yeah.
Animals always doing it for us.
They are. I was sharing earlier about Keepers of the Wild and when, like, the coyotes, how they calm down.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That was something. And that monkey, I was trying to remember the other day.
Oh, Billy. Yeah, I shared about Billy. I did share about Billy, but that was crazy. And remember how
at everybody throw stuff.
Yeah, but remember how after Reiki, when April said, "Oh, he usually throws rocks," I'm really shocked, and they just kind of picked up a handful and went, like, "Oh yeah,
that was funny." He was phoning it in.
But yeah, the coyotes were, like, to me, the most powerful because they paced and paced and paced and paced and paced, and then they actually stopped. By the second day, they were coming to the fence, and it's just so interesting.
That was cool. That was really cool.
It's just the power of when we go inward, it just, and I remember the people that worked there, they were shocked.
And think about what we could do with all the world problems if we could get enough people to go inward.
I know. Do you think Putin could go inward?
This is a no political zone. But I just had my virtual practice this afternoon. I mean, it won't take long, but virtual practice group today. And I had somebody from Oklahoma and somebody from Texas and somebody from Maine and somebody from New York and a couple of Vermonters. And it wasn't a big group, but it really, I think the power of community is so important. And when we practice together, when we come together to practice, it just it intensifies the energy. It, keeps that vibration just really strong and pouring outward. I mean, just expanding. And I think, when one of the people was saying, I practice by myself all the time, and it's so great to practice with other people, even though we're all online. And, it seems like it wouldn't be, but because even though we're online, there is that power in practicing in a group. And so, the community thing, and that's why I love Sarah. I mean, we have the community that we work together, we get to know each other, and there's so much power in that.
Oh, there's a ton of power, and just knowing that you have a safe place to share, and that people have your back, and that's what I also love about Sarah is that even though we're all over the world, we're all so connected. Mm-hmm. Especially when we come together once a month for our meetings, or we're just connected through Facebook or whatever. It's really powerful.
There's a ton of support.
Yeah.
And so we need that. We're starting out, and even when we've been doing it for a while, it's good to be reminded of what it's like to start out and, go back to basics with people and, just the beginnings. And it's important.
It's intimidating when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
You feel alone, you feel awkward, you're just not sure. And then you have lots of questions. And if you don't have people to ask questions of, you won't continue. Which is why we do this. We want people to ask questions. We want to have interaction. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Darlene, for interacting. Nobody else is giving comments. So thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Okay, the wrestling match is
all right.
The party's on.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.